Hello, book burners, and welcome to another episode of Books Are Burning. I'm your host, Mark Will, author, songwriter, and publisher in permanent exile, currently based on the island of Taiwan. I'm joined today by my good friend, Ghanniy Oyedele, a comedian, actor, writer, director, producer, and activist who also happens to be based in Taiwan. He's the host of Last Week in Africa, a satirical but factual news program on YouTube. And today we will be discussing Wole Soyinka's nonfiction book of Africa. Here it is in hardcover. This episode will focus on part one of the book, which is titled Past into Present. Now, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka should need no introduction, but still, I'd like to ask you, Gani, who is Wole Soyinka?
Yes, Wole Soyinka, the man, the legend. I practically grew up with Wole Soyinka. It was everywhere on radio, on TV, basically an icon on steroids. A small home library was like a shrine to him. Just one or two shelves, you get. But it's filled with his books. Now, one of his books that really caught my eyes was The Man Died. Come on, the title alone is like a thriller movie waiting to happen. And his face, oh man, his face was right there on the front page, staring at me like, you better read me. But I wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. Seriously, when it came to understanding his genius, I'll pick up the book, all motivated and all, but like a YouTube tutorial on quantum physics. I'll just drop it and go back to reading some good old Chinua Achebe. But you know what's crazy? Whenever one of his songs with Nigerian popular singer Tunji Oyelano came on the airwaves, it was like our whole family turned into contestants on the America's Got Talent or something. It was great. I love my country, I no go lie. Now inside I go live and die. I know my country, I no go lie. Now him and me go yap till I die. Let me tell you, the whole country knew about Wole Soyinka talent way before he bagged the Nobel Prize. It was like it was our secret weapon. We were just waiting for the war to catch up. So, yeah, when you talk about Wole Soyinka, it's not just about the books, Nobel Prize. It's about a cultural phenomenon that had us all singing, dancing, and trying to be as brilliant as Wale. You see, the first Wole Soyinka book that I actually read was The Lion and the Jewel. Now, this book is all about clash between tradition, culture, and westernization in Africa. But let me tell you, when I first read it as a kid, I had different agenda completely. I didn't see it as a cultural masterpiece. It was more like my secret weapon for impressing the ladies with big words. A literary playbook on how to win hearts and minds. Picture this: a bunch of us school kids strutting around like mini Shakespeare's, armed with trusty dictionaries. Well, the book. And we thought if we drop words like Lakunle, the character in the book, we'll be irresistible to the girls. It gets our own lovely city, that's the character, the jewel, and charm our way into like a spelling bee championship. But here's the kicker: if we had bothered to finish that book, we would have learned a valuable lesson. You see, that character with all the big words, well, it didn't exactly win the girl's heart. Neither did we, but we did improve our vocabulary.
I didn't realize that Soyinka was also a songwriter.
Most people don't know that. He was into everything. You can tell from his writings, though. You know what I mean? You can
Hmm.
tell that he's just a genius.
Absolutely. Well, like you, Soyinka is Nigerian and a member of the Yoruba ethnic group. When I was still in Houston, I worked with a Nigerian man who told me that there are three major ethnic groups in Nigeria: Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. He taught me well, right? He
Yes.
himself was Yoruba. I think his surname was Okafor. And he told me that Hakeem Olajuwon, the star of our local NBA team, the Houston Rockets, was also Yoruba. I'm sure you've heard of him. What can you tell us about the ethnic groups of Nigeria and the Yoruba in particular? I noticed that the great Fela Kuti was, like Soyinka, born in the town of Abeokuta in the Ogun state. Was he also Yoruba? And how about Chinua Achebe?
That's right. That's right. Nigeria isn't just about jollof rice and Nollywood movies. It's also home to a colorful mix of ethnic groups. You're right, there are three major ones: Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. And let me tell you, they're like the spice in our cultural stew. First of all, we've got the Yoruba folks, which I am, and we are like the Hollywood of Nigeria. They call us Nollywood. It's based in the southwestern part of the country. We've got art, music, religion, even our own language, of course, which is one of the 500 recognized languages in the world. It's so cool. You'll be ordering your suya in Yoruba in no time if I teach you Yoruba. Now we got Lagos, Ibadan, Abeokuta. They're like our showbiz cities. And you're right, legends like Wole Soyinka, Akim Olajuwon, Fela Kuti, they are Yoruba. Yeah, we are a talented tribe. Then we have the Igbo. These guys rock the southeast of Nigeria and have a culture as rich as a bowl of ofen sala. They are known for their traditional practices, music, craftsmanship. Igbo is another major Nigerian language. And you're right about Chinua Achebe. Is Igbo. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is Igbo. Nnamdi Azikiwe, if you heard about him, uh, Igbo. And he has been putting it on the literary map for a while. Now, your friend Okafor is definitely in this group. In Nigeria, you can tell the tribe by the name. Okafor is Igbo. And
Oh,
then there's
really?
the,
Okay.
yes,
I thought he
he's
was
Igbo.
Yoruba. Okay.
He's Igbo. Yeah. And then there's the Hausa
Interesting.
gang. The Hausa gang, we have the Hausa. They are all about the northern region of Nigeria, and they got the booming textile industry, Islamic tradition that could put Aladdin to shame. The Hausa language is their jam, and cities like Kano, Kaduna, Katsina are where the cool kids hang out over there. But there's more. Nigeria isn't just a three-ring circus. It's a whole ethnic carnival with about 371 ethnic groups. That's right. It's like a cultural buffet with something for everyone. Now, the famous faces, I've mentioned some. Akim Olajuwon, the basketball superstar, is Yoruba. Fela Kuti, musical maestro, Afrobeat founder, another Yoruba. And then I mentioned Chinua Achebe, the writer of Things Fall Apart. Did you read that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Great
that
book. Yes.
that was a great book, and that's Igbo. And then the Hausa, I'll mention Aliko Dangote is a billionaire extraordinaire who is from the Hausa side. We have a lot of Hausa that are stars in the country, but they're not really known all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Hmm.
Nigeria isn't just about oil and Nollywood drama. So it's a mix of about 371 ethnic groups.
Nollywood. This is the first I'm hearing of that.
Really?
In the yeah, yeah. So there, it's like
I
a
don't know where we're the fourth
movie
in the
industry.
world. I think the Bollywood is number one in the world. I think we're number three in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bollywood, Hollywood, Bollywood,
Yes,
Nollywood.
Bollywood, Hollywood, and then Nollywood is the next one, I think. I don't. I mean, these South Koreans are coming up now. I don't know whether they've taken over. I'm not sure, but
Well, what's
interesting.
your favorite Nollywood movie? Can you recommend something?
Oh, they're on Netflix now. There's one that just came out called Jagun Jagun. Mean Warrior, My Warrior. It was very good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll check that out.
It,
Uh
it's gives me pride to see my language on Netflix. I mean, you have no idea. It's amazing. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the preface to Of Africa, Shoyinka forecasts a deeply craved age of universal understanding, Africa inspired. What do you think this would look like?
The age of universal understanding. Utopia, but with a dash of African flair. Well, first of
Hmm.
all, there will be some serious cultural appreciation going on. People from all corners of the globe will be busting out their dance moves to African rhythms and celebrating everything from tribal tradition to modern arts. We have African food festival everywhere. I mean, who can resist some jollof rice, right? Although that's already happening in places like Brazil, Cuba. You know what I'm saying? But it's not just about the party. There will be newfound respect for Africa's incredible diversity. People will be in awe of Africa's stunning landscape, wildlife, and the fact that you can find every climate from desert to rainstorm there. I mean, have you ever seen an African safari? Have you?
No.
It's like a real live Lion King out there. Have you been to any African country?
I've been to northern Africa, Ceuta, which is an autonomous region of Spain. But
Okay, that's something. That's something. But I mean, I'm talking about. We're just talking
I
about.
was on the continent, but it's it wasn't an African country. It's actually part of Spain.
I understand. But anyway, let's move on that. We can
I
also talk
tried
about
to go.
economic.
I tried to go to Morocco, but
Okay.
The Taiwanese wife I was traveling with uh, was not allowed entrance, so
Oh,
couldn't get in. I could have gone, but she wasn't able to.
oh, okay.
So next time, invite
I
me to
understand.
your place in Lagos. I'll be happy to visit.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for Africa where we can all go to without even visa. Africa is looking into that too. And then let's carry on with what I was telling you about Utopia with Africa in mind. We
Hmm.
can also talk about economic equality. I mean, I'm saying African resources will be a source of prosperity for its people, not just big corporations. No more exploitation, no more shady trade deals. You know, where we
Hmm.
say fair is fair, and people can we can talk about political stability. Africa will be the poster child for peaceful coexistence if we are talking about utopia. Nations will work together. Conflict will be resolved, and there will be more handshakes than fist fight. Education will be all about Africa. You know what I'm saying? Learn about Africa. Kids in school worldwide will learn about African history, culture, and contribution. We even have African studies as a required subject. Imagine the homework. Write about Nelson Mandela's awesomeness. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So, I mean, Africa's leader, thinkers, and artists will be the rock stars of the world stage. Africa is where the action will be if we are talking about universal understanding of Africa. Africa will be the shining star, and we'll all be singing Akuna Matata while holding hands and making the world a better place. That's a world I want to see,
Hmm.
where Africa gets the respect it deserves.
Well, this reminds me of South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu's concept of
Yes.
Ubuntu, which
Yes.
Soyinka notes is a particularly African kind of humanism. What does this term mean to you?
Yes.
And do you think it's related to this age of universal understanding?
Well, the concept of Ubuntu, you're right, Desmond Tutu was all about it. It's like the secret source of humanity from the continent. It's basically a fancy way of saying, hey, we are all in this crazy life together. So, what does it really mean? Well, it's like the ultimate reminder we are all in the same boat. Picture this, you are on a crowded bus and someone step on you accidentally. You might get a dirty look or a snarky comment. But with Ubuntu, it's more like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. We've been there before. It's
Hmm.
empathy. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's empathy where an empathy party where everyone is invited. That's better. So Ubuntu is all about recognizing the human connection we share, a big cosmic reminder that we are part of one giant human family. So could it be the foundation for this age of universal understanding that Wole Soyinka is talking about? Absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine a world where we all live by the Ubuntu code. We'll treat each other with kindness, empathy, and respect. No matter where we come from or what we look like, it's like the ultimate recipe for what peace, with a side of harmony and a sprinkle of understanding. So, in this Ubuntu inspired age, we'll solve problems with conversation instead of conflicts. We'll be like, hey, let's chat about it and find some common ground. You know, it's like the ultimate global therapy session without a couch. So
Sounds good to me.
we should embrace our inner Ubuntu. That's what I'll say. Maybe one day we'll all be sipping cosmic tea together, sharing stories and laughing about how we used to fight over little things. So Ubuntu is the way to go.
Shoyinka
Mark.
denounces the mythology of the strong man, which has led to the prominence of, quote, individuals to whom a space of governance is a mere playground, no different from a golf course or a gambling casino, unquote. What are the political and historical factors which enable such leaders to come to power?
First of all, I think the the idea of a strong man, I don't know. Uh, that's part of that's the part of the book that I disagree with Shoyinka personally. I think we cannot escape that ideology of a strong man. There's always somebody, you know what I'm saying, that is a
Some
strong man.
leader.
Name anybody. Yes, even what's his name? Even what's his name? Even Obama is a strong man. I'm just telling you someone that you don't think, oh, that's a strong man. Strong man is someone that has some power that he may not
Mm-hmm.
even recognize that power himself. That has some authority that people want to follow. And then, okay, I'll go closer home to Africa. Look at Rwandan president. What's his name? Rwandan president, the one that's right there. I'm missing my mark now. People are saying he's overstaying his time. You know what I'm saying? He's been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Democracy means he should leave after 2 or 3 terms. You know what I'm saying? But his people want him to stay there. His people know they need him there. He's a strong man. I am actually afraid of them getting away from the position. You know what I'm saying? Because we've
Mm-hmm.
seen position like Libya, where we have Gaddafi for such a long time. He was a strong man, right? And we're like, no, why is it just him? And we remove him. Do you get my point? And this is Africa I'm talking about. This is so interesting. This is out of the book. This is not what Shenka is saying. I'll go back to Shenka later. Because to me, I disagree on that strongman idea. I want peace. You know what I'm saying? And some people, the strong men, are good at doing this. And the idea that they don't love their country, I don't really agree with that also. Yes, there's corruption. Yeah, but they must love their country.
Well, I
Yeah,
was
go
just
on.
going to say the example of Gaddafi is perhaps a case in point. I mean, after he was bayoneted up the ass, things
Yeah.
didn't turn out too well for Libya and the surrounding
It's not just
countries
Gaddafi.
in
Look
that
at
region.
Saddam too. Anywhere. Look at
Sure.
Saddam. Anywhere. Many countries need strong men, especially African countries. We need strong men. And even the Middle East. We are talking about Dubai, the Emirates. They are strong men. You know what I'm saying? They are monarch. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why those areas are working. But we can go back to Wole Soyinka's idea. What you think is costing the strongmen? What's it called? The mythology of strongmen. There are reasons why this is happening in Africa. One is historical legacy because of the colonial baggage. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And there's weak institution, which that's also true. I mean, that's actually a big deal. The weak institution is a big deal because the leaders, African that is struggling with that, the leader that is good, I mean, the good leaders don't stay there enough to create a good institution. You know what I'm saying? That they're a few years and they're gone. You get my point? And another group of people come on and to try to get something done, they leave. So that's a problem. Economic disparities, yes, we're not getting enough. Africa is not on the same ground as the European country. Uh, they're not sharing things where it should be shared. There's poverty, there's inequalities, and that is happening. Ethnic division is a big deal about why we're having. That's my major problem, major issue here. Ethnic division. We need the strong men are able to curb ethnic division somehow. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we're also using it as a reason why they're coming on, but they make the country peaceful. And then the external support, and then there's weak oppositions. There are many reasons we can look into that allow these strong men to stay in power. But the major one for me is that the people themselves want them in power. That is my opinion of the strong men.
but do you think there's a point where their strongman tendencies go too far, and instead of serving the people, they're oppressing the people. I mean, as I read this section, that's what I thought Shoyinka was trying to tell us, that
Yeah.
sometimes the corruption is too extreme, and often these strongmen types are collaborating with former colonial powers to
Yes.
oppress their people and enrich themselves at the people's expense. Would you agree that there are examples of that?
I completely agree with that because what Wole mentioned that it's easier to deal with strong men because they have the power. They can say yes, I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? So that's true. We just have to find good people. I don't know. We just have to be lucky that we have a good person. Our strong man is a good man. Let's put it that way, and is
Hmm.
able to care for the whole country. But there will always be opposition. You know what I'm saying? There will always be a section of the country that will say we are being we are being cheated. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
don't have the people don't care about us. I mean, look at Nigeria, for example. We have this section, the Eastern Nigeria. I mentioned the Igbo just now. The Igbos think they're being treated in the country. They think they don't get enough respect in the country. It may not be true. It may be true. We don't know. And they think when they put their own person there, things will change. So some people will always be unhappy. Let's put it that way.
Hmm. Um, in chapter one, I'm taking a random quote here. Shoyinka
Yeah.
mentions Eshu, the Yoruba god of contradictions. Now, I know that this god is important to you and your own creative work, as he appears in your play For the God's Open Eyes. Can you tell us about Eshu's place in the Yoruba pantheon and his cultural significance in modern day Nigeria?
Yeah. Eshu, the Yoruba god of contradictions, is like the cosmic comedian of the divine realm, the
Hmm.
ultimate stand-up deity. The kind of God who's have you laughing and scratching your head at the same time.
A
Issue's job
trickster.
is to yes, yes, that's it. His job is to keep the balance between opposites, which sounds like cosmic tightrope act. It is a deity version of neither here nor there. You know, two face. If life were a seesaw, issue would be the one that is keeping the balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's not all. Issue moonlight as a divine messenger. You need to send a celestial text to the spirit world. Issue got you covered. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And it's like the heavenly FedEx guy, making sure your prayers and offerings get to the right address, and you don't lose your package. Well, except if you don't tip issue, and that is serious, really. You got to tip issue. I mean, we actually been doing tipping in the Yoruba culture before tipping actually started. You know what I'm saying? And this is
Mm.
serious, serious. So issue has a thing for crossroads. I'm not talking about traffic kind. Is the guardian of life. Choose your own adventure moment. I mean, standing at the crossroads is like stepping into issue's cosmic game. Um, but there's more to issue. Like you say, it's a trickster god. You know, it keeps us on our toes. Anyway, in modern Nigeria, issue isn't just an ancient myth. It's like a cultural icon. It's like the spiritual equivalent of a meme popping up in
Mm-hmm.
literature, art, and Yoruba identity, like the ultimate cameo star. I saw a carnival in Brazil. I wasn't in Brazil. It was in Brazil recently, and they actually display issue, giant issue, and that was very beautiful to see. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So the culture is actually thriving outside the country more than in the country itself.
Yeah.
The Yoruba culture. Yeah. In my play for the God's Open Eye, I set out to take the audience on a journey into the vibrant world of Yoruba mythology. I selected five powerful orishas and I wove an intricate tale around them. Think of my attempt. My attempt was like I tried to blend Chekhov's with Shoyinka, you know, Chekhov's Seagull in particular, collided with Shoyinka's Lion and the Jewel. If you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with Chekhov, it's about a play in a play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, so in the play, Eshu was a trickster, took a center stage at the crossroad of destiny, and was causing trouble uh, among the Orishas. You know, the act two of that play will be coming out soon. It's a three-act play, and you saw Act one, And you'll see Act 2 very soon, where we delve deeper into the world of issue and witness more of his cosmic antics. A theatrical adventure. You will love it.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Throughout part one of Africa, Shoyinka pays as much attention to the trans-Saharan slave trade as to the transatlantic. And this was surprising to me because it's not something that is emphasized in, the Western educational system. Um, so I'm just curious, what do Nigerian and or African students learn about the trans-Saharan slave trade? How does this relate to the political project of Arabization of indigenous African peoples, which seems to have taken place in the Sudan and elsewhere? And why, I've got a lot of questions here lined up, why does Shoyinka call the Janjaweed the Ku Klux Klan of Darfur?
Okay, I'll try and see the one I can answer there. Well, trans-Saharan slave trade, if it was mentioned in school, it was not emphasized,
Hmm.
But the transatlantic one tend to hug the spotlight,
So it's
that one
similar.
is,
It's similar.
yeah, it's like a blockbuster movie of slavery with all the drama, tears, and grand finale in Americas. But the trans-Saharan trade is like the indie film of slavery, less known but still significant part of history. In Nigeria and across West Africa, we get a full scoop on the transatlantic saga, the Middle Passage horror story, the plantations, and those abolitionists. When it comes to
Hmm.
Trans-Saharan gig, it's more like a cameo appearance.
Hmm.
We'll learn about its North African and Saharan adventure and how it shaped some African societies, the fight, the war, but not the slavery.
Hmm.
Seriously,
Why do
not
you
the
think
slavery.
that is? Why do you think that is?
In Islamization, I'll say, I'm going to link that to the Arabization, you know what I'm saying? Because we learned about Islam a lot, but we didn't call it Arabization, we call it Islamization. It's like your cool older cousin showing you how to get to heaven and get 77 wives. You know what I'm saying? It's probably spread so fast because of that and the killing. Yes, and the killing, which we didn't know about then, the killing. So in part of Africa, they were all about spreading Arabic language, culture, and Islam. Now that's what you call Arabization, but we call it Islamization. You know what I'm saying? Some
Hmm.
folks embrace it willingly. We thought everyone embraced it willingly. You know what I'm saying? Until we started reading history. Yeah, and some did, but most of people had to go through it through hardship. They didn't want to. They will be sold as slaves. I mean, I read books where an Islamic book, or I don't know what to call it actually, where in the pages were saying, "Don't conquer that town. They are Muslim. Conquer that town. Conquer that town." Wow, you know what I'm saying? So they see us as idol worshippers, and they will take us as slave. So the whole Arabization thing had a rocky relation with the Trans-Sahara trade one anyway. I mean, some African societies willingly joined the club, and others got forced membership cards. You
Hmm.
didn't ask for, well, you have to carry it around. In a nutshell, we do get a taste of trans-Saharan trade and the Arabization story of education, of African education. But it's like the side dish to the trans-African feast, you know. Um,
Transatlantic, right?
Wole Soyinka mentioned the Afro-Iraqi population. You mentioned that just now too, all right? And
Hmm.
that's now they're demanding to be recognized. Apparently, back in the 9th century, a group of rebellious African slaves took over a chunk of the Euphrates Valley. You mentioned that just
Yes.
now. And they
Yes.
set up their own territory there. I didn't know that either. I mean, that they held it down for 15 years. We didn't know that. We didn't learn about that.
The Zanj
Yeah.
Rebellion.
Yes, we didn't learn about that. No, but we know it now, thanks to Wole Soyinka and other historians.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, this is the first black slave uprising in history. It predates
Yeah,
the one in
yeah,
Haiti that most of us know about, but
yes.
it predates that one by more than 1,000 years. So it was quite a surprise to learn about that. Um, and you're telling me it was news to you as well. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
because we read English books, remember? We
Yeah.
read English books, and those, even though it was documented, but was on the Arab side, it's in
Hmm.
the Arabic side. I mean, now that, for example, Timbuktu was mentioned by Wole Soyinka later. Many of Timbuktu's books that were written by Africans long time ago were
Hmm.
now just being decoded. You know what I'm saying? Just now
Right.
just being translated. That's why we're getting to know that things were happening. We were actually educated when they came and were saying we're not educated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many things that are happening in history now that you're like, that, wow. I read about this, about a slave that was I saw a play. I didn't see the play. I read about a play in America recently about a man from West Africa that wrote Arabic and became popular. And they thought he was an illiterate, but they found out what he was writing was, I mean, interesting stuff. But let's not deviate too much. Let's stay on. Let's stay on Wole Soyinka.
Well, sure. Related though to this question of you know the transatlantic versus the trans-Saharan slave trade is the question of the influence of two of the three major monotheistic religions. Of course, I mean Islam and Christianity. And I just want to quote Shoyinka here. He says, quote, both Islam and Christianity had been guilty not merely of physical atrocities on African soil, including enslavement of the indigenes, but of a systemic assault on African spirituality in their contest for religious hegemony, unquote. Um, I think he discusses this in greater detail in part two, but what is your immediate reaction to that statement? Because again, this was something new to me. Of course, I knew from, Things Fall Apart about the negative influence of Christianity on the continent, but uh, I hadn't. I think it was the first time I had heard about how, from a certain perspective, both Islam and Christianity were, uh, you know, detrimental to native traditions, native spiritual traditions.
Well, I think that is the idea of those religions. Both of them were against, because we were stigmatized as idol worshippers in both religion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the traditional, not even religion, traditional culture. Anytime, I mean, traditional culture was seen as idol worshiping. Let me tell you a personal experience when I came to Taiwan. You know what I'm saying? And I'll go to people's houses and I'll see things that were referred to as idol in my own country. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Traditional thing, family emblems that has like family
Shrines.
stuff. Yes, that I was trying not to go into shrine, you know what I'm saying? But that is already making it like it's a shrines an idol. But let's call it
Sure.
shrine, yes. And I was like, why are these allowed? Why didn't Christianity destroy this here? Why are they allowed to do their stuff? You know what I'm saying? A Taiwanese friend will tell you, oh, I'm going to go and meet someone to tell me about my future. We don't say that openly in Africa, even though we have those stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because that means that you are now idol worshiper. And I felt like, why did they destroy our own? Why didn't they allow us to thrive? I'm just thrive like this world thriving with their own culture. So it's interesting. We don't know why that happened, but it's just that we were unfortunate in Africa. Uh, and they came, according to Wole Soyinka, they came to sort of the let me calm down there. The religious leaders, the Islam and the pastors, they came to it's like they came to to calm us down for the businessmen that are coming to take over our resources. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
You know the way I put it? They come, the Shinka point out that there was a clash, let's put it that way, a tug of war between the African tradition belief and the newcomers. So traditional practices were often treated like an ugly sweater or something you have to hide. Even some tried to make them disappear. And that's what Christianity did and Islam did that. But Africans they're not quitters. They were resilient and adaptable. And so what did they do? They started mixing up their religion with the newcomers' religion. You know what I'm saying? And they
Hmm.
did that better outside the country. In fact, they did that very well in Brazil and Cuba and all those areas. Yeah,
Hmm.
you know what I'm trying to say about
Haiti,
that.
Haiti as well.
Yes, Haiti, they did that very well. And they come up with different names that we don't even have in Africa to represent. Like you find any saint in the Bible, they will give it,
Yes, yes, yes.
they will synonym, make a synonym with an African Orisha. You get my
Hmm.
point? So they did that to actually allow the religion to survive. Yes, survive. It's about survivor. What can we do? Okay, let's. This is close to our issue. So issue have a different name in Brazil, for example, has a
Yes.
name yes, something like that. So yeah, so the religion in Africa, let's go back to Wole Soyinka. It's not just a spiritual journey. It was a roller coaster ride of adaptation, clashes, and some serious music.
Right.
So it's a proof that Africa knows how to groove his own rhythm,
Mm.
even when it's complicated. Yes.
Well, you alluded to this earlier, but let's get into it now. The fabled city of Timbuktu. Um, this is mentioned in chapter 2 of Africa, Children of Herodotus. It's called,
Yes.
but this is one of the most popular African sites of Western Romantic fictioning. That's the term that Shoyinka uses to describe like these places that are romanticized and, idealized and not really, studied from a careful scholarly or factual point of view. But Timbuktu is an actual place in Mali, right? Like, what is the difference between the romanticized version of Timbuktu and the reality?
Yeah, it's funny. Timbuktu, even Africans like me, when I say Timbuktu, I say it like a Western person is saying it because I'm
Yeah.
in the West. So it's like, oh, it's so far as Timbuktu. Even when I was living in Nigeria, I was just next door to Timbuktu. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the romantic version of Timbuktu is something out of Indiana Jones, for example.
Yeah.
You've read the poems, you know what I'm saying? A mystical, exotic wonderland when you expect to find genie in a lamp or camel waiting for you, like Uber rides, about treasures and golden street and Asian manuscript, desert nomads. Well, there's Asian manuscript. That's in reality. But the reality is Timbuktu is an actual city, like any of the West African city. It
Mm-hmm.
exists. It's not exactly like Aladdin Paradise that might imagine. It's a historic city. It's a rich cultural city. It's in the center of learning and trade. There are valuable manuscripts. There's the Timbuktu Library, but it's not made of gold, and you won't find some flying carpet there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to West Africa, I mean, not just yeah, West Africa. There are many places like Timbuktu in West Africa. You've seen the pictures now. Anyway, you've seen the pictures of West African architectural designs, the older
Yes.
one. You know what I'm saying? That we had all these things, which is true. We had our own design. We have our own system of government. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Timbuktu. The sugar coating of Timbuktu is what Wale Soyinka was saying too. Was just to lay the foundation for the colonizers. Yes, why did I forget about saying that? So that's what Shinka was talking about. They all came and say, "Oh, look at Lagos." They just pick another one, Badagry, Badagry too. I mean, that's why the many Badagry was the slave was the harbor for slave going to Atlantic route. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these places were sugar coated to the Europeans, the businessmen. So they came and said, "Oh yes, let's come and take them." Yeah.
Mm. Shoyinka suggests that while the Holocaust and Hiroshima are universally recognized as horrors, which must never be allowed to occur again, the slave trade is not always considered a tragedy of the same enormity. And there seems to be no other explanation for this moral inconsistency than racism. What can be done to address this? Why is the slave trade not considered, equal to those other two horrors of the Holocaust and Hiroshima,
Hiroshima.
which is
Yeah.
a signifier for the atomic bombs
You're right.
that were
You're
dropped on
right.
Japan.
You're right. We have the VIPs of tragedy, Holocaust
Yeah.
and Hiroshima. So what's the deal with that? I should be asking you really. I mean, you're a white guy, so you because there's no black guy that does not know this that they live slavery lives and just hang on to Holocaust like it was bigger than slavery. No, it wasn't. But let's leave that. Let's just talk about what can be done, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So well, education. We don't talk about them enough. Education is important. We need to teach the full story, not just the one that makes us feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And there
Mm-hmm.
should be awareness campaign. I mean, imagine museums talking about transatlantic slave trade. I don't know if there's any museum talking about that. So, and then the government institution too have to play a role. I mean, they have to admit that they messed up. Oh, sorry, we messed up. Well, they're doing it bit by bit. We're getting there. And reparation. This actually was it 2 weeks ago. There was a president of Guyana was on BBC. Did you see that?
No.
President of Guyana was on BBC just 2 weeks ago and talking about reparation, and the host was just attacking him, getting angry. You want us to pay for what our generation did, what our forefathers did 5 generations ago? Why do we have to pay for that? Something like that. It
Mm-hmm.
was it was interesting, but we need to talk about it, dialogues, and we need to talk about it, and we need to support historical research. That thing, and grassroots movement too. Communities coming together, raising awareness, and saying it wasn't okay. We can't keep treating historical horrors like there's some exclusive clubs. We have to treat them, we have to talk about all of them. So there are things we can all do. I mean, especially in your court. I mean, we are doing it, but we don't get support. There was a survey recently. Was it a survey? I don't know what it was on internet recently, asking country to accept whether they should pay reparation. Many of the Western countries refused. They said no. Why should we pay reparation? I mean, there are a lot of there has to be discussion. Let's just say there has to be discussions about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Shoyinka mentions the town, and you just alluded to it earlier, the town of Badagry on the southwest
Yes.
coast of Nigeria.
Yeah.
Um, it was here that there was a slave depot on the so called Slave Coast. Since it's in Nigeria, I want to ask you, what is the modern city like, and what in particular is the well of attenuation?
Well, Badagry is in Lagos State. Lagos was the capital of Nigeria for a long time, and it's still the richest city in Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? Lagos
Mm-hmm.
is a big city. It's an amazing city, like Taipei, but bigger. Actually, Lagos is as big as Taiwan itself. You know what I'm saying? About 20 million people. So, Badagry is a big city. You can go there. It's not the old Badagry, which was a slavery harbor. That has changed. Of course, there's a lot of what do you call it? A lot of it's a tourist city now. Where you go to see evidence of slavery. You get my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Shoyinka mentioned about the well of attenuation. I'm hearing for the first time myself. Sounds like something out of a fantasy novel story. But this well, according to Wole Soyinka, is real. It's in Badagry, like a reminder of the past. So back in the days, every slave or enslaved person passing through Badagry had to stop and take a sip from this well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why? Well, because it was believed that the water has some kind of magic mojo. It was supposed to make them forget their past, like a reset button for your brain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Imagine sipping water that make you forget everything, like an extreme form of selective amnesia. That's what they thought it would do. So today, when you visit Badagry, you see this well, and it's not just any old well. It's a piece of history. It's a reminder of the horror of the transatlantic slave trade. It's a giant pause button on live remote control. You'll be standing there thinking, man, that's some heavy stuff. But it's essential to remember and reflect on history, even if it involves magical well that erases memory. Because in the end, it's about acknowledging the past and making sure we never repeat it. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Well,
is
and
there.
related to that well of attenuation, of course, is the tree of forgetfulness, which is in Ouida in the Republic of Benin.
Yeah.
So, what is this, and why is it such an important symbol for Shoyinka?
Well, you know that the Lagos, Badagry, uh, Bini, Togo, they're on the coast of the West Africa. You know what I'm saying? You can
Yes,
actually
yes.
drive all the way to about 3 or 4 countries, all the way to Cote d'Ivoire. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's the route, the slave route.
Mm-hmm.
So um, in Oida, they have this other thing called the Tree of Forgetfulness. You know what I'm saying? Oida is the present day Republic of Benin. They add this tree right in the center of it all, and they call it the tree of forgetfulness. It's mysterious, yes, but the deal with the tree is like the water of well of attenuation. When they brought in slaves from the inland towns of West Africa, which are victims of war or whatever. They would lock them up in stockades and forts on the West African coast. But before they ship them off to the great unknown, they made them do this bizarre ritual. They will walk around this infamous tree.
Mm.
Why? Well, the same thing, to make them forget everything, their land, their homes, their families, maybe their jobs, like an ancient memory wipe. Now, some folks say it was to make them more receptive to their new life in America, wherever they take them to. Others believe that it was to prevent these poor souls from coming back to hunt their captors. So imagine being so afraid of karma that you create a whole ritual around it. But the thing is, it didn't work. The slaves never forgot a thing. Well, you're aware of that. They couldn't erase their past. Actually, I can't help wonder how many other trees of forgetfulness are out there, both literally, both symbolically. You know?
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to today. The tree of forgetfulness is still alive and well. Not as a literal tree. It's a symbol of how the world conveniently forget some pretty important stuff. Now, you mentioned that for earlier on. Remember?
Hmm.
Wole Soyinka mentioned that for about how it went through hell, violence, displacement, atrocities galore, and the world did nothing. The global response was just pressing the snooze button, and Darfur was on fire. Now, 2023, this is 2023, yes. Wole Soyinka wrote that book about almost 10 years ago, I think. And even now, the tree of forgetfulness is still alive and well. But people are forgetting. People that saw civil war, people that saw a series of military rules, they are praying for coup d'etat in Africa. I mean, if you know what's happening in Africa now, all the many countries are actually asking for military coup. And that will take us back to the word you use for that strong leaders. I mentioned that some people think we need a strong leader. What's stronger than a military coup leader? You know what I'm saying?
For each country or some kind of pan African strongman?
Well, a lot of things hide behind things. You know what I'm saying? They will call it Pan African, but Pan Africa is not military coup. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, I'm not saying what is right. People think that because Niger is saying they are doing their things to be against France,
Mm.
you get my point? Everybody is saying, we want to be against westernization, against these. So they're asking for coups, they're asking for this. We don't trust democracy. That is happening. But what they're forgetting is that we try that. There have been several coups in Africa, especially in my country. There's been more coups than democracy,
Hmm.
and we're still where we are. Yeah.
You mentioned the date of
Go on.
publication, 2012. Um, if we're just considering
Yes.
part one, what has changed since the time he wrote this? That's now 11 years roughly.
That's the interesting thing about history, It repeats itself a lot. We're talking about Darfur in 2012. We're still talking about Sudan, even now.
Hmm.
The consequence of Darfur was the two military leaders, if you Hemeti and Dagalo, whatever they call them. You know what I'm saying? And those two military leaders with Said, they are the one causing the trouble in Sudan now. Darfur was just the region where it's about Arabization, whether they want Arabization, whatever it is they're doing there. And now these people are now making it all country issues now. So if we don't finish one situation, one case, we don't solve one problem, it sort of find its roots, and infect the whole country. And that is
Hmm.
what is happening in Sudan right now. They have to go back to Darfur even. They have to go back to Darfur. What's happening in Darfur? They have to end that Darfur crisis.
Well, thanks again for joining us, Gani, and we hope you'll come back and talk to us about part two of Wole Soyinka's Of Africa.
Thank you, Mark. I look forward to that.
Talk to you soon.